being thanked for what he did to bring democracy and dignity to his people. The election on Wednesday is his cue to step down. His party, the ANC, is defying gravity, enjoying soaring poll ratings, even though it still has much work to do, something Mr. Mandela acknowledged.
Too many of you are terrorized by criminals, bent on destroying our fledgling democracy. Despite the huge gains that have been made, too many of you remain homeless, poor, and illiterate.
The man being asked to change all that is Thabo Mbeki, the presumed next president. He's been described as not exciting enough, but he tried to cast off that label today with a love song. Mr. Mbeki needs to improve the lot of black South Africans without making minorities, including whites, feel left out.
But today was all about Nelson Mandela, and the crowds here show just how much affection ordinary South Africans feel for him. He said he's going to retire now into obscurity. It doesn't seem likely. Jeremy Vine, BBC News, Soweto.
Indian aircraft and ground troops have been in action for the 5th day in the disputed border region of Kashmir. India claims armed forces have entered from neighbouring Pakistan and occupied territory on the Indian-administered side. Our correspondent Mike Wooldridge is in Kashmir and has been to Dras, where the heaviest fighting is taking place.
Fresh supplies for the front in this high-altitude conflict zone. Even with the use of air power, few are predicting that this could be over quickly. India is throwing everything into attempting to recover the terrain up here that it seems was occupied unnoticed by hundreds of infiltrators. The big guns have been moved up as Indian and Pakistani artillery square up to one another across the ceasefire line dividing the two parts of Kashmir, the line of control. As many as 400 of the infiltrators are on the top of this towering ridge above the town of Dras. The Indian army believes Dras is known as the second coldest place on earth. It's anything but that at present, as shells and mortar fire rain down. At brigade headquarters, already directly hit, they're preparing for the long haul and hand-to-hand combat with a determined force in the hills above. They're braced for even higher casualties. Dras is now a town where it's hard to find a place to hide, says Ghulam Rasool. But because he's responsible for a food store, he feels he has to stay. Shakil Ahmed is also the only member of his family still here. He says if someone has to die, at least then it will only be him. Most people have taken refuge in relatively safer places like this, but even livestock have died in the firing. Outside periods of war between India and Pakistan, the situation on the front line in the Kashmir conflict has never been fraught with such danger. Stark evidence of that from the way Dras has faced an incessant barrage of shelling. And for both governments, being soft on Kashmir is a barely imaginable option. Mike Wooldridge, BBC News, near the line of control in Kashmir.
Here, the Conservative leader William Hague has